working hard and is looking to improve, this will help them up their games.
Any particular area that you want to work?
First day I'm going to be doing in-games and puzzles. So both are very important, and I think especially when you're young you tend to neglect them a little bit because you want to do the tactics and the openings, but it's an important area to focus on, so I'll do that. Tomorrow we'll move to openings and little game examples, and on the last day we'll try to have a summary and a quiz about what happened.
Regarding the computer thing again, I mean, computers now are such an inherent part of a kid's growing up. Do you think kids are not thinking for themselves as much as they should? Because I mean, they're always being spoon-fed. So what's your opinion on that?
Well, that is the big danger, and I will try to emphasize again today, especially with endgames, because computers play it perfectly. It's very easy to just see the computer and look at the position. But I hope that when I give the positions to them to solve, they will see how difficult it is without somebody having an evaluation that you can see. It's not a question of understanding as such, because when someone tells you the right answer, it looks like the right answer. But when no one is telling you anything, and you still find the right answer, because then you have various concepts. And I will try to show that a lot today. I believe we shouldn't just get into this habit of saying computers are good, computers are bad. They're a tool, they're an unbelievably effective tool, but you'll have to mix and match. And I will try to show that, because a lot of the games are from my own personal experience. And it is a very important area to emphasize that at the board, when you're alone and you're solving things on your own, that it's very, very difficult. And that is part of the focus of this camp. I think I will try to show how mistakes happen in over the board play. Again, I hope to show examples, and especially today I will try to emphasize how when you're playing in games and you're facing them, the important thing is not only which is the right move, but which is the right move for you, which is the move that you find easiest to solve. So there are certain moves that come easily to you, and other moves which are very complicated because the lines are very long. So I will try to show how I choose, even when I'm practicing, I try to practice the methods that I will then try to employ and things like that.
Any instance where you're being troubled by one of your opponents in such a way?
Well, your opponents always trouble you, but again, it comes back to the board. I mean, if the position of the board is wonderful, then it doesn't matter what your opponent is doing. Even if they're very successful in irritating you, it's not effective, because if you will win the game, then you will only laugh at them. So, in chess, it's very important that all the psychology is backed up by good moves. I mean, there are guys who try to wind me up, but then they make a bad move, and then it doesn't succeed. So, the most important thing in chess, I think, is still to focus on playing well. But if you play well, then it's a good thing to amplify with psychology and trying to annoy your opponent. There are legitimate ways of doing this. You can look confident, you can play confidently, you can play fast. Those are legitimate ways of I think of conveying your confidence. There are bad ways as well, slamming doors, making faces, hitting the clock hard. So we have gamesmanship, we have legitimate ways of doing things, and most importantly, I think each one has to find a way not to be affected by this.
You're starting with the end game in this camp.
Yeah, that's the schedule for today. So today will be puzzles and end games.
So that's probably the right method. I mean, like too much theory nowadays. We should start with end game and then go to theory.
You know, there isn't an area of the game you can really afford to neglect. So openings are important, but in openings you're just drowning in information. And so how to cope with that will be a topic I will try to address tomorrow. But I thought I'll start it off with endgames today and puzzles. I could have easily done it in the alternate order, but and I think it's a tendency, because openings produce results, for youngsters to neglect that. So I'm trying to emphasize that that's important. Simply put, if you don't survive the opening, you won't need the endgame skills. But the endgame skills are still important, because you've done all the work correctly, you've played your middle game well, and then because you've not brushed up in your endgame skills, you don't collect the point, that is a failure as well. So I'm going to try and emphasize that. but it could easily been in the other order. So there's no particular reason why it had to be.
But in short, actually, people, the youngsters, the children should start from end games. That's right. I mean, like that is the way it should be done.
You have to focus on all areas. That's all. You can start with end games. You can start with openings, but there are no areas that you can neglect. And what is happening with computers is that because we're going further and further, your opening preparation very often finishes in the end game. So in chess nowadays, it's very difficult to have these clear demarcations. This is the opening, this is the end game, and everything else was the middle game. Now you can swap queens very early, but it feels like a middle game because all the variations are very sharp and forced. Or you can keep queens, but it feels like an end game because you're playing on one theme, or like an open file or a particular square. So these demarcations are blurring in chess.
In an interview a few months back, you had mentioned that 40 is the new 50. Could you elaborate what you meant by that? And also, Hari Krishna briefly overtook you, I think, last year as the Indian #1. Do you think he has it in him to maybe eventually take over the mantle, or?
Okay, I don't remember that because I think even when I was just after Gibraltar, I don't think I ever lost the highest rating thing. But anyway, that's kind of besides the point. He's doing very well. He will start a tournament in Hong Kong soon, and he's made enormous progress. I mean, the very fact that 2750 on its own is a very impressive rating to maintain. And he was very close to 2770, so 2760 something he was peaking. That's a phenomenal performance, and he's clearly improved, I would say, dramatically in the last 2 to 3 years. So he was like barely breaking 2700, and then suddenly there's a 50-point leap. So I think he will play in Hong Kong. Let's see how he does. It's a good opportunity for him to show. I guess he will play the World Cup as well and try to qualify for the World Championship. 40 is the new 50. Well, I basically said that once upon a time people used to think that at 50 you should be thinking of moving along. And now they seem surprised that at 40 you don't move along. So in fact, I said that age thing had dropped. Having said that, I don't like to keep on thinking about it. I mean, you can't go on every day when you start working, you can't think, I'm 40 now, how do I do things differently? You still have to train your skills. I mean, there's a recognition in my head that it's slightly difficult. I have to change my training methods a bit. But this will work at any age, at any level. What you find difficult to learn, you must find new ways of learning. What you find easy to learn, you must rehearse often.
What sort of changes have you made then in the last few regarding your training?
More or less, it was covered in my answer. The things that I find difficult to learn quickly, you focus more effort on remembering them, recalling them at the right moment, and being familiar with them. And your stronger areas, you keep on brushing up.
Adiban performance at chorus, of course, that it's very great. I mean, how do you look at the performance? Suddenly he got out of nowhere.
It's wonderful. Suddenly we have 4 or 5 people breathing in the top 50. I mean, Hari and me, we were already there, but Adiban, Vidit was getting very close, and Adiban as well was doing fantastic. I mean, in Vaikense, he played against the world's elite, and after this initial start-up, when he started with -2, he fought back to a really good result. So I was very impressed, especially by his flexibility. I mean, once the initial phase didn't work out for him, he then decided, okay, I'm just going to mix it every round. So I'm going to play the Scandinavian one day, I'm going to play the French one day, and he did superbly. So in fact, he's on the cover of New in Chess because people noticed that his games were interesting, and this King's Gambit against Wesley So, of course, was a public favorite. So very good. He had a setback in Aeroflot afterwards, but I think it doesn't matter so much. I mean, you will have ups and downs, but if he keeps continuing in this direction, I think, and I'm very excited because the more people we have there, it's nicer.
Was it a revelation? The kind of openings he played?
people have done it before, so it's not the opening is a revelation, it's the fact that he chose to do it, and I mean, everybody experiments nowadays, but that Adiban felt comfortable, even given the scale of his opposition. He nonetheless wasn't intimidated, he started experimenting and being very bold. It wasn't only me that noticed this, he was very popular in the tournament.
So, other people, other 90% of our GMs are from, they're starting the chess from early age. What about they will start from about 25 years? Is it will works or not, sir?
I don't think it matters at what age you learn chess, because I mean you learn for fun, but if you start chess at 25, that's going to be tough, because chess again is something you learn much easier when you're young.
Thank you very much, sir.
Anand, to rephrase his question, is there any ideal age you can recommend for kids to start chess?
Well, I'll give you an example of my own son. I keep a chessboard in front of him. We've taught him how to make what the rules of the game are and how to set it up. And I'm going to just wait till he thinks he wants to try it, and he starts enjoying it. Probably the ideal age is when they want to do it. I don't think it's something that you should impose from outside, at least as a parent.
Thanks, Anand.
So, on a lighter note, how has your game changed after you become a father?
My game hasn't changed because I've become a father, but at the most I would say sometimes when I'm preparing he runs into the room and he wants to play with the computer, that means I have to stop. But mostly I just find it very pleasant. Everything in chess is about beating stress, and nothing like playing with a young son to help you relax once in a while. So maybe even if he interrupts me once in a while, it's a good thing, because I should take more breaks while I'm working.
Physical fitness is something that's generally neglected. Those on the outside think it's not that important in chess, but I mean, as you move on, I mean, what sort of change in terms of your fitness? How have you been working on it in the last, say, 5-6 years? What are the things you've had to do to maintain your physical fitness and concentration for long?
Well, really, it's the last I would say 25 years or so that I really started playing. There was this moment in 93, 94 when I was still in my 20s, and I was my results started to drop off, and then a friend of mine told me, I think you should really pay attention to your fitness, because there's a reason these mistakes are coming at the end, and I think you're losing concentration. I thought, what does concentration have to do with fitness? You think of fitness more in terms of stamina, but the thing is, when you get tired, you're unable to maintain the intensity, therefore it drops off. So since then I've been paying attention to my fitness. Obviously I try to vary a bit. I mean, the idea is it should always be a little bit challenging. This is not a big secret, but the idea is it should always be a bit challenging for you. So I try to mix my fitness, but and then I also pay attention to stretching and relaxing. I would say right now my fitness is more focused even on getting rid of tension rather than purely about stamina. Because during games you build up a lot of just the after effect of the game, and you want to relax a bit. It's also important. I've shown in the last few years that I'm able to play long games, and I'm able to endure suffering or defense for a long time. So I think it's working well in that sense. I wouldn't say my routine has changed too much. Again, I keep it interesting, but actually the same rule applies for chess. You have to keep varying your training methods always to keep it interesting, otherwise the brain gets bored.
What's the role of sports psychologists in chess, and
What's the role of sports psychologists in chess, as say in tennis, for example? And is there a role for one part of a team or other chess players' teams?
Well, chess psychology is very, very important, because I would say all games between players of roughly equivalent strength are decided on psychology, because it's not technical matters which win. But there is a role for a psychology to be comfortable with that. I mean, I find that I'm able to address my issues psychology with my wife and my seconds, and often I find that just being able to talk about what I'm going through in the game brings me to speed. But equally, there are others who have someone formal in that role. But it's a fundamental area of all sports, because all sports are about outwitting your opponent in the end, and so it's about maintaining your level for long enough. So you should always not be the one to make the last mistake. And the last mistake is very often because of psychology. You tire, your mind wanders, and there's usually an underlying reason why it happens, and you have to address it.